Working? Yes, awesome. Hey, welcome everyone. Thank you for attending my talk. I have always a huge respect for people attending a security talk at the end of the day of the conference. So, thank you. As always, I'm really happy to be here at Devox. It's always an honor. And, well, this is a new talk. And if you are sitting here attending this talk, I assume that you know Quarkus. And I also assume that you are as excited as me about Quarkus. Just check, the developer experience is so huge. It's fast, low memory print. It's awesome. It's really a game changer. But one thing hasn't changed with Quarkus is once you will have built your Quarkus app, you will still have to secure it at one point. You will have to deal with users, deal with authentication, authorization. And yeah, I know that's not the part that developers prefer. And the goal, the purpose of this tools in action is really to show you how you can add this security layer on your Quarkus apps, okay? And so I have 2 or 3 slides, and then we just dive into live coding, and just to show you concretely how you can secure your Quarkus application. Just let me quickly introduce myself. I'm Sebastien Blanc. So I always make the joke, but let me do it again. I'm half French, half Dutch, so I'm more or less a bit Belgian. And that's why I have this weird accent. And if you want to follow my trolls on Twitter, you can see here my Twitter handle. Okay? I'm not a slide guy, so I've just made some slides to give you the big picture. When you take Quarkus core, the base, the core developers of Quarkus have created a security-based extension, which is the low-level security layer of Quarkus, which mainly do all the under-the-hood plumbing that you don't want to know about it, and that exposes some public APIs and objects that you can inject in your code. And to be really in the Quarkus spirit, it's not reinventing the wheel. It's just reusing good practices, good libraries from the security. So the code that I will show you won't be too new for you. I will use annotation that you knew about and etc. That is the base extension. Then you have to decide for a concrete implementation of your security extension. And you have a few options here. I didn't list them all here, but just I put 3 of those here. The first one is the property files security extension. That is if you want to put your users, passwords, roles in a property file. Yeah, people are still doing that. You can use that in the really early stages of your project when you're doing a proof of concept, but please don't do this in production, please. Then you can level up a bit and go for the JDBC security extension, and that means that you are still managing your users, your roles, your passwords on your own, and you want to store it in your own database. That's possible also with Quarkus, with JDBC security extension. There might be some valid use cases to do that, but yeah, my personal feeling about it is that if you can do it, please try to delegate your security to a third party, to a server that will manage for you the authentication, the authorization, management of the users. And today you have a few options to do that. Well, I work for the Keycloak team at Red Hat, which is an identity provider, an open source identity provider. For sure, you should try it. But I will try not to focus the talk on Keycloak today. But everything that I will show you will work with any other identity provider. If you use Okta, Auth0, it will work as well. And even most of the code that I will show you will even work with the property file extension. Okay? I made this slide this morning. I say, let me make a slide to explain you the demo. Because there are some assumptions that I want to make clear. What I will show you is a web app that make a request to a Quarkus app. It calls a REST endpoint. And later on, we will also show how a Quarkus app can make another request to another Quarkus app to request another service. All this secured. But to be able to send a secure request to a Quarkus app, you need to be authenticated. You need to obtain a token from an identity provider. And it is not in the scope of this tools in action. So in my demo, I will already have a web app. It's running. And I already have an identity provider running. And I won't spend too much time on that. So my web app, when you access your web app, you will be redirected to a login screen. You enter your credentials, and it gives you back a token. Okay? And I will spend my live coding part after that, once you make your first request with your web app to a Quarkus app. Okay? And just before we go switch to the live demo, just to show you what I told before, you won't be surprised by the code I show you. I could almost show you this slide and say, okay, have a good night. That is all you need to do in your Quarkus app to secure it. You just use the annotation role allowed, you pass the role that needs to be secured, this endpoint, and that's it. Okay? But we will live code that right now. Okay. So, as I said, I have a web app. Let me show you that here. It's probably running. I forgot to start it, sorry. Here we go. I have a front-end app. It's a pure web app. Well, I put a Quarkus layer around it just to benefit from the web server, but that's nothing to do with Quarkus, the web app. I have my web app running here, okay? And it has been configured to communicate with an identity provider. In this case, it's a Keycloak server running that I already configured for this demo. And if I do a login, I can just log in with a user I created just before, Sebi. And I log in, and it gives me back 2 tokens, an ID token and an access token. And this access token, this part, this is what I will send to my Quarkus app to make a secure request. I won't send it in a JSON way, but I will send it as a base 64 compressed way, okay? And here I can call my service. So I haven't created still my Quarkus service, but that's from here that I will call my service. So that's for the front end. I have my token. Let's create now a Quarkus app. So how do we create a Quarkus app? So there are several ways. You can go on the website on code.quarkus.io, and you have a web interface where you can create your Quarkus app. You can also create it by using the Maven plugin from Quarkus. So here I say I want to create a new app. Okay, and I give it the package org.sebi, and I call it, let me, Devox Live, because we're live here. Devox Live, it's a snapshot. I want a REST resource. Hello resource is okay for me. On the resource parse /hello, that works for me. Okay, I'm done. And I can go to IntelliJ and open my app. So let's go here. Let's open this app I just created. Devox Live, it's here. And I want this in a new window. So I just warn you, I have a weird bug with IntelliJ since a few days. At one moment, IntelliJ will freeze for 10 seconds. It's awkward, you know, especially for live coding. I haven't found a reason why, but yeah. So I will have to fill up this time speaking. Now it's still working. So that is my empty Quarkus app. It has generated for me one endpoint here, hello. I can just start my app. We can make sure it's all working. So here I launch my Quarkus app in dev mode. And let me see, here we go. And it's running. Okay, and if I do a call on localhost 8080/hello, it should return hello, as expected. For those that don't know Quarkus, just to show you quickly the fun stuff that you can do before we dive into security. I can say hello DevOps here and just save it. And now we have the freeze I was talking to you about. So I have to talk for 10 seconds. I'm really sorry about that. That's really awkward. What happens here when I update my code and I save it? Oh, the demo gods are kind with me. It was only 10 seconds. Just reload the app for me. Now it's not really impressive because there was this lag, but you can see I just updated my string and I can see it live, but it goes even further if I, for instance, let me do that. Let me add a new endpoint, add a new path, we call it .fr, and we call this method bonjour, and here we say bonjour. Okay, I just save it here, and here I do /fr, and you can see I can just add code, add classes, change the configuration. I don't need to restart my app. That was just the small stuff to show you the developer experience I run Quarkus. Okay, but now what I want to do is to secure this endpoint. Okay, because now it's not secured. What do I need to do for that? So there's one thing I need to do. First thing is I need to stop my application. Quarkus is nice. The only thing that doesn't support hot reload is when you add a new library. And I'm going to add a new dependency. So I just need to stop my Quarkus app here. Let me make that a bit bigger. And here I just need to add a new dependency. And it's called Quarkus OIDC. OIDC stands for OpenID Connect, okay? So this is all I need to do. I enable import. Okay, now I have my security extension installed. And there are two things I need to do in my code to get it secured and protected. First one is my endpoint here. So this is the one I want to protect. And how do I protect this endpoint? It's really easy. There's one annotation that I can use. It's called roles allowed. That means that when there will be a request on this endpoint, the user must be authenticated and he must have the role user. That's a role I defined in Keycloak. And that's it, okay? The second thing I need to do is to provide some configuration, because my Quarkus app needs to know a bit about the identity server. Where is the identity server running? How can I obtain the public keys to verify the tokens and stuff like that, okay? And I can just add it here. So it's boring typing, so I have a shortcut for that. Important line is the second line. So here I say where my identity server is running, my Keycloak server. Here I have the name of my application that I created that I have declared in Keycloak. And for some extra security, I'm using the confidential mode. That means that my app needs to share a secret with the identity provider before it can talk with him. Okay? And that should be enough. So if I go here and I run my app again, it's going to fail, you know, because it has generated tests for me, and now the endpoint is protected. And this test here this test here won't work, okay? But as I always say, testing is doubting. Hop! Here we go. Don't you agree on that? Sure. No, you should write tests, but it doesn't make really sense here for the live demo. Okay, my app is starting again, and now if I do a curl against my hello, I don't receive anything because the curl doesn't show me here. But if I go to a browser here and I do localhost/hello. Hello, it's really dark here. So that's exactly what I wanted. I got a 401. That means that my endpoint is protected, okay? And now I can go back to my web app, and my web app, he will make the same request, but he will make sure to pass this token along in the authorization header. And Quarkus app will just grab this token. He will verify the signature, see if I have the role. We can check it here. Access token, if we go here to groups, you can see that I have the role user, so that should be okay. So let me try to do the service call on hello here. And oh yeah. And it's not working. And yeah, that was more or less part of the demo. I show you that. Everyone got hurt by that. Does this ring a bell for you? Cross origin. Oh, that's horrible. Of course. Maybe Quarkus can fix that. Yeah, sure. We have a property. It's called quarkus.http.course.true. Is that? Now I'm not sure. Service call. Yeah. Here we go. Hello, Devox. So now my web app was able to make a secure request. I can show you that if you're interested in the network here. If I do service call, hello, you see I do a get, and you can see here that in the authorization header, I pass the token, okay? And just to show you that I'm not lying, let me go back here to my resource and let's change that to hacker. Well, whatever. Another role that I don't have. And I just save it. And if I do the service call here, not authorized. Okay? I'm authenticated, but I don't have the role. So it's working. My endpoint is secured. 12 minutes. Wow. Okay. That is the basic stuff, how you can secure your app. You can already do a lot with that. But what brings Quarkus with that? One nice thing is that once you are authenticated, you will have an object called security identity. And you can just inject that in your class here. So I can do security identity. And here I can say, instead of hello Devox, I can say hello. And then I go to my security identity. I get my principal and get the name. Something like that. And now if I do the service call again. Sorry, what did I do? Oh, yeah. Thank you. Oh, it was just a check to see if you were paying attention. Okay, hello, Sebi. So it returns my username, okay? And you can even, security object provides you a lot of stuff. Hello, Sebi. And you can say your roles. And here I go again. Security identity, get roles. Again, if I refresh here, it gives me all my roles. That are default roles that are assigned to me, and user is really the role that I decided. Okay, so it's pretty easy to play with your. You really have a security identity object that you can use. And since I'm showing you, and yeah, what I just showed you here, you can use it with the JDBC extension or the property file extension. You still have access to your security identity. But since we are using OIDC, OpenID Connect, we have a token. And again, this token, so this token that we have here, all this information here, we can inject that as an object in our Quarkus file. And that is also really nice. So I do just inject JSON web token, and here, I call it token, okay? And now I can do, I can access my wall. So instead of my walls, let's show expiry date, and that will show me a timestamp of when my token will be expired. And again, this time I can access my token, and here you see I have a lot of options that I can access my token, my subject, the issuer, and there should be, oh, look, it's the first one. Awesome. So here we go, and again, if I call my service again, it should show me, and we have here a nice timestamp. In the beginning, I wanted to show you a nice date, and then I say, no, Seb, you're not going to play with dates in Java in a live demo. And so I just stick to the timestamp. But for those who, well, I don't have time to explain you what a JWT is, what a JSON Web Token is. But basically, it's a token that contains payload. And you have some, not mandatory, but tokens that are defined by the OpenID Connect protocol, like expiry, subject, all these tokens that you, this payload that you see here, that's all called claims. But you can also inject any custom payload that you want. And here I have one that I created, is called speaker true. Okay? I don't have time to show you that. Check on YouTube, Gvox, Keycloak. You will see a lot of talks where I explain all this stuff. But just to say I can also access this custom payload here in my code. So if I go back here and I say, I want a Boolean. Whoa. I want a Boolean is speaker, for instance. And here I go to my token, and I do get claim, and my token is called speaker. Okay. And here I could do something like is speaker. If I'm a speaker, then return he is a speaker. Okay, so if you want to add some logic in your code based on the token that you received, you can do that as easy as here. Did I did anything wrong? No, that should be okay. Service call. I call. He is a speaker. Okay, you see though that works. And again, you see how cool it is with Quarkus, because, you know, I'm just doing code, I change, and in the second you can see the result. So you can manipulate the token. You can access to all the claims, everything. 7 minutes. No problem. Let's talk a bit about this part. So this is really convenient. I know people like to use annotation. But imagine that you have a lot of REST endpoints. I mean, really a lot. And spread it on a lot of classes. And with particular constraints, like when it's a get method, I don't want this role to be able to access that. It could be really hard to manage that with annotation. And imagine that you need a new role, you have to update all your annotation. So one nice thing that Quarkus came with is that instead of using annotations, you can also define your security constraints in configuration. A bit like in the old days with Java EE, where you define your security constraints in the web.xml with security constraints, you can do here the same. And here again, I have a template to not make it too boring typing. But basically, I can define policies that I can name as I want. I name it here rule policy 1, and I say it's a world allowed policy user. And then I create a permission, and this permission needs at least two things. It needs a path. So here I say on any, it's not it's allow. Okay, let me change that. Any request to allow, I want this policy to be applied, and this policy is this one. That means that I need to be authenticated and have the raw user. Pretty much the same as the annotation, but it's in configuration. And imagine that I have a lot of endpoints on hello. I can define it here. And here, if I do my service call, it will be just working because it's still there. And again, to show you I'm not lying, let me update that. And here I do service call. I'm not authorized. Okay? So I just showed you here the basic stuff. If you want to know more about this security based in the configuration, go to the security guide of Quarkus. So here you can see that I copy-paste shamelessly the example from the documentation. But as you can see, you can also check on methods. You have also the deny policy. You have the permit policy, which is really great when you have a public space of your API and you don't care that people are authenticated or not. So that's another way how you can secure your application. 4 minutes. Okay, I will skip the authorization part that I wanted to show. What I really want to show you is how, once you get a token, so we are here, and for some reasons I need to call another service, another Quarkus service. How can I propagate the token to another service? So you could do it by yourself using any HTTP client, and in the headers you just have to call get row token that will give you the base 64 token, and you do that. But with Quarkus, which is nice, it's based on the libraries of microprofile, and microprofile comes with a really useful library which is called the REST client. Okay, and the REST client makes it really easy to make REST calls, and it's called REST client. It's called REST client. The name was more complicated in the beginning. REST client, and from there I can run my app again, I think. Quarkus dev. Okay. And here I'm going to create an interface to call another service. It's a service that will turn my username into uppercase. You know, the most exciting stuff ever. But let's do it now, and we call it uppercase service. 2 minutes. I will never make it. Uppercase service. Okay, here we go. And here I just say I want to register that as a REST client, and it's on the path of uppercase, something like that. Okay, and here I create a method. Say it's public string uppercase, and I want that as a here I'm really hard coding username, and it's a string username. That's my interface. I have to specify it here. Username. Okay, so I'm using a path param. Okay. He seems to be not really happy here. Okay, I'm not sure what I'm doing. Okay, 1 minute. I won't have time, but at least I won't have time to create a service that do that. At least let me show you how you can do that. So I can inject this service as a REST client. I just inject it. So here I call it uppercase service, case service, and here I can just do something like uppercase service, uppercase, and I pass my username. Okay, here we go. That's it. I have one thing to add is some configuration, and that's the really nice part with the REST client of MicroProfile. Look at here. The first part is not really interesting. I say where my other service is running. I won't have time. Time is up. But look at this. Propagate headers. That means that any incoming request from my web app, I want my REST client to grab the header called authorization and to put that in my request I will do to another service. This way, I can make a secure request to my other service, and I don't have to care to pass myself the token and everything like that. Okay? I'm done. I'm here tomorrow the whole afternoon. I will be on the Red Hat booth. So if you have questions about this talk, if you want me to show you more stuff, or a question about Keycloak, about Quarkus, whatever, I will be more than happy to answer them. And thank you, everyone.